Hello Scrublifers, it's another date with me, your girl Amy on Scrublife TV. I am so happy that you've tuned in to watch this very exciting episode. So it's a bit controversial, but I wanted to talk about it. I was with a fellow Scrublifer. He's actually a medical doctor, and he was having dinner with us last night, and he's given me permission to talk about this, so I'm not going to give the names, of course, but it's something that's very close and dear to him. He's going through a divorce, and he was venting and sharing with us some of the challenges his marriage has been going through because of leaving the scrub life. So in the course of us talking, he gave me permission to talk about Scrublifers as life partners. The one thing the wife had mentioned, and I do know the wife, it's so funny, she started out as a nurse, but later on, as he got, more and more progressed in his profession as a medical doctor, she decided to stay home and go into a different sector of profession. She became a realtor. But anyway, there you go, I'm giving all that information. Well, like I said, he gave me permission. I also ran this by her. She said it was okay because they're over anyway. Hopefully, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that things won't go south for them. They're a lovely couple, but they probably got caught up in this scrublifing, as I like to call it. So I named this episode 10 things that make Scrublifers bad partners, bad life partners. I might change the name later on, I don't know, but this is what we had talked about last night. I'm like, I'm going to come on today and talk about it, and I would love to really know what your opinions are, how you feel about this. Are Scrublifers bad partners? Do they make bad partners? I don't believe so, but then again, we don't know what our partners, our spouses, our boyfriends or girlfriends think of us. So I'm so grateful to this wonderful couple for sharing their story and giving me permission to talk about this. So one of the cheap complaints, is that Scrublifers are very judgmental. Again, because Scrublifers, be you a nurse, a doctor, a dentist, a nursing assistant, an EMT, as long as you leave that scrub life, there is going to be multitasking, all types of multitasking, because you're given so many things to do and to achieve at once. So that happens. And so the chief complaint here is that because of the multitasking we do our work, we're kind of judgmental when people don't measure up to par. We expect other people to be able to multitask, to be able to do a number of things, like 200 things at once, attend to people, answer the phone, give medication, make an assessment, deal with a complaining family member, talk to the labs, go through some critical labs, be able to call 911 and fill out forms, all those things we do, and also still able to clean and dress and get our patients ready for appointments or for discharge. So all these things that we do have kind of made us, what's the word, like robotic almost. Like the bionic woman. I don't know if anyone remembers that. I'm probably dating myself right now, but yeah, so it's made us superhuman, so to speak. So we become judgmental of other people's shortcomings. So I don't know if this is true or not. I welcome your input. You can reach me at scrublifer18@gmail.com. You can leave your comments down below. Please subscribe and share this link with your colleagues, your friends, or the Scrublifers. I welcome all kinds of input, because this is important. It might be something we're even doing, and I keep using the word we because I'm a Scrublifer, and I would like to know if I can get a feedback from you and other people in my life. It's always good. Our family members should be able to hold us accountable if we're doing things that are not pro-family or pro-relationship. The other thing is the hours we work, the long, tedious hours, and chief complaint is you're either going to bed alone or you're waking up alone. So most scrublifers work 12-hour shifts, and it's not really 12 hours because you're driving there and driving back, you're giving report and getting report, and there's always that last minute things to do. So in other words, it's very easily more than 12 hours. It can be anything from 13 to 14 hours, and sometimes it's more than that, you know. So long hour days. So inadvertently, what happens to our partners or spouses, boyfriends, girlfriends, and even our kids is that they don't see us early in the morning because we get up quite early. If you're working the day shift, you're up and gone before everyone else is up. And by the time you get home, they're either in bed or they've also left home. So if you're working the night shift, by the time you get home, everyone else has gone to work, or you're just like passing ships, you know. You're coming in, they're leaving, there's barely enough time to exchange pleasantries. So that's another thing that, you know, it bears a lot of pressure on the person living with you because loneliness, you know, that companionship isn't there. So I do know very early on that personally, my relationships, I mean, I think the people who've been in relationships have been very, very clear about, okay, you know what, night shift is not something I'm okay with. You know, if you can get a day shift, you know, I mean, they're willing to work with you. And I do understand it, especially if you have families. But then again, you have people who are married who actually tend to complement their work hours. You know, you have one parents that are home during the day, and then the other parent, usually a nurse who works at night, so you save on childcare. So basically, to me, it depends on the understanding. However, those understanding also eventually snowball into things that are not so pleasant anymore. You know, like the reality hits you and you realize you're just mostly by yourself all the time, which is not something you signed up for. So that's the second thing. The third thing is scrublifers talk about their work constantly, which is not a good thing, but I think I can be guilty of this also. Oh my God. We bring work home. Not good. Because I don't think we would like our spouses or our partners to bring their work home. But I suppose because of the way our work or our job is, sometimes it spills over because it's mentally draining, it's psychologically pounding on you, you know, and it's the physical aspect. I mean, that damn near almost always breaks you physically and emotionally. So I think it's just a lot of that. So by the time you get home, you need an avenue to vent, and it just so happens is the person at home or the people at home that bears the brunt of it, which is not nice. But I think that's one thing we as scrublifers are guilty of. If you know you're guilty of this, please leave your comments down below. Let me know what you feel about this. Are you in agreement? Are you also having problems in your relationship that you think is being it's as a direct result of your scrub life? So that was the third thing. The fourth thing is scrublifers are almost always hypochondriacs, meaning every little thing we are with a microscopic glass, just look, it could be a rash and we're thinking it's something else. Another flip side of this is we don't take things for granted. So we see something and we're concerned and we like to nip things in the bud because we work with sick people, mostly sick people. We know how very easily things can snowball and become something bigger than it started out. So, well, scrublifers, we are accused of being hypochondriacs. We make a mountain out of a molehill, things that really we shouldn't worry about. We worry about, we sweat the small stuff, medically. So if that's true, maybe not. I don't think I'm guilty of that, but then we're not talking about me, we're talking about us collectively as scrublifers. So I have got cheat sheets here, so if you see me, my eyes moving, it's because I'm trying to see what points I have. We also have a love-hate relationship with the places we work. Most scrublifers hate their jobs. And this, I guess, we project our hatred on our partners or our family members, on our children and close friends, because there's just so much negative energy. Our place of work is actually, and I can attest to this, I mean, I've worked in different places and I know how very easily, when you've had a very stressful day, it kind of follows you home. And it's either from your co-workers who are not supportive of you, management hardly ever is supportive, but then management also answers to higher powers, because again, it's all about efficiency and churning that machine. So it's just the way it is. It doesn't make it okay, but that's just that's what comes with a job, and it's tough. And the people who bear the brunt of it are the people who actually wearing the scrubs and who do drudge work. And drudge work, as we all know, it's tough. So there's that that relationship. They're saying scrublifers are not happy people because they're not happy at their job, and I think that might be. I've not had that complaint. I mean, I have talked about challenges at my work with my partners, because that's all they're there for. They talk to me about theirs and I talk to them about mine. So sometimes, yes, because of the things you're expected to do, it becomes cumbersome and you're not happy at work, you're not happy. Patients can be demanding, family members usually are, and I think it's because of guilt. I am going to talk about this topic, about patients being demanding. To me, is a lot of grief, a lot of guilt. Because I've been on the other side of it. I've had to take care of an ailing parent, and I do understand what guilt can do to you. So I because of that, I'm especially very sensitive to patients acting out. Because I get it. So because I've had I've had a window into that life, or being on the other side of the coin, if you will. So I do totally get it when they're projecting, or because of fear of losing a loved one. So that fear is there, and that guilt that you're not there for them, because life goes on. You're dealing with an aging parent and they're expecting you to do certain things or be certain things, and it's not easy because you're being targeted, so that's something I'm going to talk about at a later time. But being a sandwich generation is actually a thing, and it can be very demanding, and it will make you feel guilty. So I deal very well. I mean, even if I pat myself on the back, but I think I deal very well with family members who are dealing with situations like that. And yes, a lot of them can be rude and mean and almost always listen to the patient and take sides with them, because again, that's the way they can deal with the whole disease process. So moving along, the other thing is, and this was kind of surprising to me, but again, I'm going to put it out there so you can also, put in your own 2 cents and let me know what you think. But Another thing scrublifers are accused of is that sex is cold.
Food for thought. I haven't had complaints. Have you had complaints about your sex life being cold? Have you been serving your sex life cold? Could that be a problem?
That probably the psychological effects that we get from all the bashing from all sides that we get at work, because our work is really very stressful. Either you're a medical doctor, you're a nurse practitioner, you're a nurse, you're a nursing aide, you're EMT, you're dental assistant. As long as you're doing that scrub life, housekeeping, or you work in dietary, it all eventually trickles down to your personal life. And they said scrublifers can be cold in bed, and that's because they're just so removed or so shell shocked that it takes too much from it messes with your head, it messes with your psyche, and you're so removed from, you know, you're not so much in touch with your with your life partner. However, I would like to think that it actually depends on what, well, I guess that's another way of looking at it, like it's tied with, you know, how good a day you had at work or how bad it is. Because if you had a good day, then hey, it's good, it's sweet, you know. For example, maybe something happened, someone passed, died, or you see someone with very bad health situation and makes you appreciate life, so you come home appreciating your spouse or your partner. Or it could be that someone totally took advantage of your niceness and now you're angry, you know, and you're almost always tired anyway. So that is so true, you know. That ties in with the walk alone, you know, no, wake up alone. I think that was number 2 or so. You wake up alone or you sleep alone. And scrublifers are almost always tired. And then that is true, you know. If you work a 3-day 12-hour shift, and like we said, it might be 12 hours on paper, but in reality it's probably 14 hours you're out of the house, and on the 4th day you're tired. Okay, you work night shift, you're sleeping through the day anyway, so that pretty much you can't do the things that you want to do. So your kids miss out on your parenting. And
the other point was scrublifers are prone to affairs. This is weird. How are scrublifers more prone to affairs than any other profession? Well, the word out there is because they work in close proximity with their scrublife colleagues, so the temptation is there. I'm thinking you could be doing construction work, or you could be a police officer, or you could be an attorney, or I don't know, there are varied jobs out there, and the temptation to me is equally the same thing. I think people cheat if they want to cheat, but then we're not talking about me. We're talking about the concerns of people married to or in a relationship with scrublifers. So they are prone to affairs. Scrublifers, I'm asking you, do you believe this? Have you had affairs? Have you had a scrublifer had an affair that you know of and you want to share? Please do not hesitate. Put your comments down below. Email me if you have personal stories at scrublifer18@gmail.com. Please subscribe. This is such an exciting episode, and the channel is actually a forum where we can vent and offload all that psychological trauma. Okay, so scrublifers are prone to affairs. Okay, this is something we need to explore further and really see what the statistics is on this. So the other thing they talked about is that scrublifers are very impatient and do not suffer fools. I, for one, I don't think it had anything to do with my scrublifing or scrublifer at work. I generally tend to be impatient with lazy people, or people who are mean, or people who are cheats, people who are not nice. I think I am. You know, some people are very judgmental. I don't like judgmental people because I think a lot of times judgmental people are overcompensating for some ignorance or for some kind of shitty bias that they feel guilty about. I mean, if you dig deep down, there's something going on in there, or some childhood trauma, you know, because why would you be judgmental? I mean, you don't walk in other people's shoes, so what's there to be judgmental about? You know, so, but they said scrublifers are judgmental. I think that was the number one point, but we do know why now, because they multitask and they're made to act like superheroes without a cape. The only thing missing is there's no cape or a cloak. I definitely know about multitasking at my job. And they said we're impatient, scrublifers can be impatient, and nothing seemed to faze them, so they're not sensitive, meaning I don't know, probably a spouse or a partner or kids expect nurses or nursing assistants or doctors, because you deal with sick people, to be more sympathetic or empathetic to that situation, and they're like, you live, you won't die, you know, because again, I think it has to do with the work we do, because we have to prioritize, and there's the ABCs, you know, if your airway isn't blocked, if you're not bleeding, and if you're not having chest pains, or, you know, there's something really, really terribly wrong with you, it's not life-threatening. So maybe I'm also guilty of that, I don't know, but I think as a person I'm actually very, very sensitive, and I think my partner can tell you that. Other thing was mood swings because of high stress levels. So you have a doctor who's always having mood swings, or a nurse or a nursing assistant, scrublifer. I always use that term, scrublifer, because that's what we are. We wear scrubs. So when you leave the scrub life, you tend to have mood swings. Again, it's all tied to the job. It's a high stress job, and you tend to sometimes get sucked into that hole of, you know, the circle of sickness. You're around sick people, depressed people, people who are sad, people who are fearful, and sometimes it just sucks you into that vortex, and you've got to be careful about it. So you're happy 1 minute, you're sad, you're crying, you're shouting, you're angry, and you're prone to fights. Again, I have to, I do know, when I talked to my friend last night, he said that medical doctors have the highest divorce rate. I don't know if that's true or not. Something we have to look into, but again, I hear nurses also are almost always lonely or alone, and they're always either having the husband sleep them or their wives. So I don't know. So it's something we also have to look into, and I'll try to explore that further and see if I can come up with statistics about that. So that's further along in other subsequent episodes. So another thing is that scrublifers are prone to addictions. I don't know, it's high stress level. Again, it's a job. Chemical addiction, and they're almost always smokers, which inadvertently is going to eat into the money. You know, finances is one big part in a relationship, and it breaks people up. So if you're, because of the job, you tend to smoke, I don't know, 2 to 3 packs of cigarettes or whatever your choice of smoke is, it's going to eat into the finances, and hence the argument starts because of the mood swings and because you're impatient and you're judgmental and you're cold in bed. All this adds up, I guess, and eventually you separate from your partner. So maybe that's what it is, you know. Some are giving that they smoke too much, drink too much, or drug abuse, or they're sickly. A number of things, you know, could happen. Some other people will say because scrublifers are not sick people, they're not sickly. But I guess, again, if you've done it long enough, if one thing I do know physically is going to break you down, is also going to mess with your psyche, because you're dealing with people that are demanding on you emotionally, mentally, physically, psychologically. Some of these words actually can be used interchangeably, but you get the point. So that's what it is. This episode, that scrublifers don't make good life partners. Please let me know what your thoughts are on that. Being a scrublifer, I don't agree. I'm going to go out there because I know people actually are drawn to scrublifers, because in part of my research was why are people attracted to scrublifers. So I'm going to do that after this and just see what, you know, put feelers out there and see what people actually think, because I thought it was a good thing when you have a scrublifer, because this is what I'm thinking. Those points that were raised can actually be flipped, and it could be a good thing, but I suppose it's how you use it in your everyday life. So if you multitask, that could be a good thing. It means that you can get things done very quickly at home. You know, if you are hypochondriac, it just means you take things seriously and you let things blow out of proportion, because then you know the essence of being in a wellness place. And you know, you want people taking their flu shots or their you know, whatever kind of vaccinations the kids need. You know, the husband needs his weight checked, and you know, wellness state of mind. So again, it's something to look at. Please let me know your comments. Subscribe. Let's keep this channel and this episodes rolling on. Whatever support you can give me, I would love to have your input, and please share this with other scrublifers out there. You can reach me if you have a story you want to share, you want to collaborate with me. I am open. scrublifer18@gmail.com. Until I come your way again, it's your fellow scrublifer saying, love your partner. Please love your partner. Take notes from all the things we've talked about on this episode, and show gratitude and love and companionship to your significant other and your kids and your family members. And again, I always end by saying, show kindness and love to your patients. It's important, don't take any day for granted. Until I come your way again with another sensational episode, have a lovely, lovely day. We should be recording now.
Okay, now it's recording.
Yeah. I was with a friend of mine. I was with a scrublifer friend of mine last evening. It's interesting, and so in the course of us talking, so today I named this episode 10 things that you know you're married to a scrublifer, or 10 things that can be challenging, or the 10 complaints. But anyway, so moving right along.